When I say God, what is the first image that comes to mind? Stop and think about this image for a little while. Now, think about the virtues and the flaws of this God. Have you ever thought about where this is coming from? Have you ever asked yourself? Today on the Behind the Persona, we are going to talk about God, not one specific God, but your God. So, let's start with the big question. Is God just a mirror of yourself? Take a second and think about God. Not the God of a textbook, but the one you actually imagine. Does he get angry? Does he have a plan that conveniently aligns with your own values? Does he look like someone you'd trust or perhaps someone you'd fear? Now, look in a mirror. 2,500 years ago, a man named Xenophanes of Colophon looked at the temples of Greece and realized something that should terrify every religious person on earth. We didn't find God. We manufactured him. We've spent millennia dressing up the infinite in human clothes, giving it our skin color, our gender, and worst of all, our petty, fragile emotions. We say God is inside us, but we've used that as an excuse to trap God inside the cage of our own biology. If your God hates the same people you hate and judges the same flaws you despise, you aren't worshipping a creator, you're worshipping a reflection. Today, we're shattering that mirror. Xenophanes was the original whistleblower of theology. He walked through 6th century BCE Greece and noticed something suspicious. The Ethiopians said their gods were black and snub-nosed. The Thracians said theirs were blue-eyed and red-haired. It wasn't that they were seeing different gods, it's that they were seeing themselves. The thought experiment, Xenophanes famously wrote, "But if cattle and horses and lions had hands and could create with their hands, horses would draw the forms of the gods like horses, and cattle like cattle." Think about the flaws and faults we attribute to the divine. We give God a digestive system, a gender, and a nervous system that feels wrath. We've created a human plus. But why would the architect of 100 billion galaxies have a temper? Anger is a biological response to a threat. What could possibly threaten the infinite? By making God human, we haven't made him more real, we've just made him small enough to fit into our own tiny, tribal narratives. Act 2. The psychology of projection, the why. But why do we do this? Why is the human brain so obsessed with making God look like a mirror image? This is where the psychology of projection comes in. In modern science, we call this hyperactive agency detection. Evolution taught us that if we hear a rustle in the grass, it's safer to assume it's a predator with intent than just the wind. We are hardwired to see personality everywhere, even in the empty silence of space, the false consensus effect. There is a psychological trap called the false consensus effect. Studies show that when people are asked about God's opinion on a controversial topic, their brain activity is nearly identical to when they are asked about their own opinion. Essentially, when you ask, "What does God want?" your brain scans your own desires and puts a megaphone in front of them. If you are a vengeful person, your God is a judge. If you are a nurturing person, your God is a shepherd. We don't want a creator, we want a cosmic parent. We project our own superego onto the sky so that we never have to feel truly alone. But as Xenophanes warned, a God that shares your flaws isn't a God that can save you, he's just a God that justifies you. Act 3. Epicurus and the Paradox of Goodness. If Xenophanes broke the image of God, Epicurus broke the character of God. He asked the question you're probably thinking, if God is real, is he actually good? Epicurus looked at a world filled with bone cancer, tsunamis, and innocent suffering, and he built a logical trap, the Epicurean Paradox. 1. Is God willing to prevent evil, but not able? Then he is weak. 2. Is he able, but not willing? Then he is malevolent, a monster. 3. Is he both able and willing? Then why is the world screaming in pain? The cold truth. Epicurus's conclusion wasn't that God doesn't exist. It was far more haunting. He believed the gods were perfectly indifferent, A being of total perfection cannot feel anger or favor. Why? Because anger implies that God needs something from you. If I can make God angry, I have power over his emotions. A real God wouldn't listen to your prayers, wouldn't care who you sleep with, and wouldn't intervene in your wars. To Epicurus, God is good only in the sense that he is perfectly happy, not because he is your cosmic babysitter. Shattering the glass. So, where does that leave us? If your God is just a mirror of you, then your religion is just a conversation with yourself in the dark. We created a God with a human face because the alternative is too scary to face. A universe that is vast, ancient, and doesn't know we're here. Does God exist? Maybe. But if he does, he isn't the one in your holy books. He doesn't look like you, he doesn't think like you, and he doesn't share your prejudices. The real test of your spirituality isn't whether you can love a God who looks like you. The real test is, can you handle a God who doesn't? If you want to find the divine, stop looking in the mirror. Shatter the glass. Stop trying to make God human just so you can feel important. The universe is much bigger than your ego, and if there is a God, he's waiting for you to grow up and stop pretending he's your twin.